A billionaire who never liked kids sat in his office, focused on work, when a shy little girl climbed onto his desk and grabbed his tie with the sweetest smile. Her mother, the maid, froze in shock, wondering why her daughter trusted a man she had never met. But for him, that tiny touch unlocked a part of his heart he thought was gone forever. Rosa held her little girl close as she hurried toward the tall glass doors of Lakeview Towers in Chicago. Morning air brushed against her cheeks, cool and sharp, and she felt Mia's tiny arms tighten around her neck the moment the automatic doors opened. Mia buried her face deeply into her mother's shoulder, letting out a soft sound that Rosa had heard many times, a sound that meant fear. She was only 2, still learning the world, still unsure of people, and the big building always made her nervous. Inside the lobby, everything looked bright and polished, almost too clean. Rosa felt her stomach twist as she walked across the shiny floor, because she was already late. One of the cleaning girls had called in sick, and Rosa's supervisor had begged her to cover for a few hours. Rosa needed the extra pay, so she agreed, even though she knew it meant carrying Mia along. Mia refused daycare that morning. She cried so hard that Rosa could not leave her behind. The elevator dinged gently when it opened. Rosa stepped in, adjusted her grip on Mia, and whispered, "It is okay, my baby. We will finish work soon." Mia did not answer in any real words. She only gave a soft whimper and pressed her small palm against Rosa's chest like she was holding on for safety. Rosa kissed her on the forehead, wishing she could calm her, but Mia had been jumpy all morning, reacting to every sound and every face. When the elevator reached the 48th floor, Rosa stepped out quickly. This floor always felt different, quiet, large, like a world she did not belong in. She walked down the long hallway, holding Mia with one arm and a small cleaning bag with the other. Her hands were tired, but she kept walking toward Unit 4802, the penthouse she had cleaned a few times before. Mia shifted in her arms, but Rosa kept her steady. "Please do not cry now," Rosa whispered. "We will be quick." But in the middle of the hallway, Mia suddenly twisted her small body with surprising strength. Rosa tried to tighten her grip, but the child slipped right out of her arms and landed on her feet. Before Rosa could reach for her, Mia ran. Her tiny feet pattered fast across the soft carpet, and Rosa felt her heart jump to her throat. "Mia!" she cried, panic filling her chest. She dropped her cleaning bag without thinking and ran after her child. Mia had never run toward anyone before. She was shy, always clinging to Rosa like a shadow. So why was she running now? At the far end of the hallway, a private elevator opened with a soft sound. A man stepped out, dressed in a clean, dark suit, holding a phone to his ear. His face looked calm and serious, the kind of face that did not show emotion. This was Mark Dalton, the billionaire who owned the entire top floor. He did not notice Mia at first. His eyes were on the phone. His voice was low, talking to someone from his company. But then he felt something small hit his leg. He looked down in surprise. Mia had wrapped her arms around him, holding him tight like she belonged there. Mark froze. His phone slipped from his hand and landed on the carpet without a sound. For a moment, he did not know what to do. He looked down at the child, shocked, confused, almost breathless. Mia looked up at him with wide eyes, her cheeks still wet from earlier tears. Then she raised her arms, the simple toddler signal that meant, "Pick me up." Something inside Mark shifted. Maybe it was memory, maybe it was instinct, maybe it was something deeper that he had not felt in years. But without thinking, he bent down slowly and picked her up. The moment her small body rested on his chest, Mia went still. Her trembling stopped. Her breathing softened. She made a tiny humming sound, the sound Rosa heard when Mia felt safe. Rosa reached them at that moment. She froze, her mouth falling open as she saw her shy little girl resting quietly on the chest of a man she had never met. Rosa felt both relief and fear. She had never seen Mia do this. Not with family, not with strangers, not with anyone. "I am so sorry," Rosa said, breathless and shaken. "She has never done this before. I do not know why she ran to you, sir. I do not know why she is holding you like this." Mark looked at Rosa for a few seconds, and for the first time since she started working there, he truly saw her. Her tired eyes, her worried face, her shaking hands. He had passed her many times before, yet he had never looked, never noticed her beyond the uniform. Now her name came to him from the cleaning list. "Rosa," he said quietly. She nodded, unsure why hearing her name in his voice made her chest tighten. "She is all right," Mark said softly. Mia shifted in his arms, but instead of crying or reaching for her mother, she pressed her tiny hand against Mark's suit and made a quiet sound, almost like a sigh. Rosa reached for her, but Mia let out a small cry and held onto Mark's shirt. Rosa froze, unsure whether to insist or step back. Mark's voice softened even more. "May I hold her for a moment?" Rosa hesitated. Her heart raced. This was her child, her only child, and this man was someone she barely knew. But when she met his eyes, she did not see danger. She saw something else, something sad, something broken, something gentle. "Yes," Rosa whispered. A woman from the office passed by and stopped in shock. The junior partner, who sometimes visited the floor, stared with wide eyes. Mark Dalton, the man known for his cold distance, was holding a toddler on his chest as if it was the most natural thing in the world. But Mark did not notice anyone. He only looked at Mia, holding her with a careful, steady hand. His fingers trembled slightly, not from fear, but from something else, something he had not felt in a long time. Mia touched his face with her small hand, tapping his cheek gently. She mumbled something soft, more sound than word. Mark closed his eyes for a second, not understanding her, but feeling something warm spread across his chest. It was a feeling he had buried for years. After a while, Mia blinked slowly and looked at Rosa. "Mama," she whispered. Rosa stepped forward, and Mark passed her back with careful hands. His fingers brushed Rosa's hand by accident, and both of them paused for a heartbeat. "She felt safe," Mark said quietly. "Children sometimes see things we cannot." Rosa held Mia close, confused and moved, unable to explain anything that had just happened. Mark picked up his fallen phone, nodded once, and walked toward his penthouse. Mia watched him until he disappeared. Rosa kissed the top of her daughter's head, her heart full of questions she had no answer to. Why him? Why today? Why did her shy little girl run into the arms of a man she had never seen? And why, Rosa wondered, did it feel like the beginning of something she could not stop, even if she tried? Rosa came back to Lakeview Towers the next morning with Mia resting sleepily on her shoulder. The sky was still pale, and the city felt quiet, but Rosa's mind was anything but calm. She had not slept much. Every time she closed her eyes, she kept seeing Mia in Mark Dalton's arms, peaceful in a way she had never seen before. The moment replayed over and over in her head, and she could not understand any of it. Inside the lobby, Mia stirred a little, her tiny hand gripping her mother's shirt. Rosa kissed her forehead and whispered, "It is okay, my baby, we are here again, only for work, then we go home." Mia mumbled something soft, a little sound that meant she was still half asleep, and Rosa let out a slow breath of relief. When Rosa checked the cleaning board, her heart skipped. Her name had been placed next to Unit 4802 again. Not once, not twice. It was there for the whole week. She blinked and rubbed her eyes, thinking she was mistaken. She had never been kept on one floor for that long. There was always rotation, always movement, but someone had changed the schedule. She did not need to ask who. Her hands shook a little as she pressed the elevator button. She did not know if she should feel scared or grateful. She only knew one thing. Something had shifted yesterday, something she did not understand yet. When the elevator reached the 48th floor, Rosa stepped out slowly. She held Mia close as she walked to the penthouse door. As she unlocked it, she whispered, "Please be good today. Mia, please stay calm." The door opened quietly. The penthouse looked clean, bright, and quiet, the same as always. Rosa placed Mia gently on her small blanket and set a few little toys near her. She hoped it would keep her busy while she cleaned. But before she could pick up a single cloth, the office door opened. Mark Dalton stepped out. He wore a simple shirt this time. The sleeves rolled a little, his hair not fully styled like yesterday. He looked tired, yet softer, almost human in a way Rosa had not seen before. Mia looked up from the blanket and blinked slowly. Her eyes widened. Then she lifted her arms toward him. Rosa froze. "Mia, no, no, stay here, baby," she whispered. But Mia pushed herself up, wobbling on her little feet, and walked toward Mark with a small, sleepy smile on her face. Mark paused halfway, then walked toward her slowly, as if he was afraid of scaring her. He crouched and opened his arms. Mia leaned right into him. He lifted her gently, adjusting her in his arms with a natural ease that looked like something he had done many times before in another life. Rosa felt her throat tighten. She had never seen Mia behave like this, not even with family. Mark carried her to the couch, sat down, and let her rest her head on his chest. Mia made a tiny humming sound and rubbed her cheek against his shirt. Rosa stood there, not knowing if she should speak or stay quiet. "You can work," Mark said without looking up. "She is fine with me." Rosa nodded slowly, unsure how to feel. She began cleaning the living room, wiping the glass table, adjusting the pillows, trying to focus, but her eyes kept drifting to them. Mark sat with Mia like he had all the time in the world. He rocked her gently, not saying anything, just letting her rest. Mia's little fingers played with the button on his shirt, and she looked so peaceful that Rosa felt her chest warm and ache at the same time. After a while, Mia became fully awake. She slid down from Mark's lap and toddled over to the small box of toys on the floor. Rosa frowned. She had never seen that box before. Mark noticed her look. "I ordered some toys for her," he said softly. "Just a few things." Rosa blinked. "For Mia?" "Yes," he replied. "I thought she might need something to keep her busy while you work." Rosa pressed her hand to her chest. No one had ever thought about Mia like that. Not neighbors, not friends, not co-workers, no one. People always saw Mia as trouble, as noise, as something to avoid. But he had bought toys for her, without question, without showing them off, without saying much. Mia grabbed a colorful block and walked back to Mark, placing it on his knee. "E," she said. Mark looked surprised. "E?" he asked. Rosa swallowed. "She cannot say your name, sir. She is still learning words. Maybe she copies the first sound she hears." Mark smiled gently. "E," he repeated, touching his chest. Mia laughed and handed him another block. Rosa felt her heart shake. As the morning passed, Mia kept going back and forth between her toys and Mark. She climbed on the couch beside him, touched his hair with her tiny fingers, and made small baby sounds to get his attention. Mark responded every time. Not with big words, not with loud reactions, but with soft smiles and gentle hands. Rosa tried to work, but she kept watching them. Every time Mia giggled, Mark's face softened a little more. Every time Mia leaned on him, his shoulders relaxed, as if he was letting go of something painful he had carried for too long. At one point, Mia brought him a small paper and a crayon. She scribbled something, a messy circle with shaky lines. She looked up at him proudly. Mark laughed quietly. "She draws well," he said. Rosa smiled a little. "She only makes circles, sir, but she tries." Mia tapped the paper and pointed at Mark, then pointed at Rosa. then tapped the middle of the circle again. Rosa let out a small breath. "She thinks we are all in the circle," she whispered. "She always draws circles when she likes someone." Mark's face changed. He stared at the paper like it held something important, something he had not expected. Rosa began cleaning again, her chest tight. She did not know what to think. She did not know where this was going. But she felt something growing in the room, something she did not have a name for. Later that day, Mia tripped while running toward her toys and let out a sharp cry. Rosa dropped her cloth and rushed forward, but Mark was faster. He reached her first, picked her up, and checked her tiny knee. Mia cried for a moment, but when Mark kissed her forehead softly, she stopped crying and pressed her face into his shoulder. Rosa's breath caught. Tears burned behind her eyes. "She calmed," Mark whispered gently. Rosa nodded. "She does not calm for anyone, sir," she said quietly. "Only me, only her mother." Mark looked at her, then at Mia, and something heavy settled in his eyes. Something tender, something broken and healing at the same time. Rosa looked away quickly, because the feeling in her chest was too much, too warm, too dangerous. She wiped her eyes before they could see the tears. She whispered to herself, "This is becoming something I cannot control." And she knew she was right. Something was growing between her daughter and this man. Something deep, something strange, something powerful, and Rosa did not know if she should run away from it or walk toward it. 2 weeks passed slowly, and every day inside Unit 4802 felt like walking into a new world. A world Rosa did not understand, yet could not stay away from. Mia had changed. She no longer cried when they reached the 48th floor. She no longer hid her face in Rosa's shirt. Instead, she looked around with bright, curious eyes, waiting for the moment that made her heart light up. It was the moment the office door opened. The soft click of the door became the sound Mia listened for. The second it opened, she lifted her tiny arms and whispered, "E." Mark Dalton always stepped out the same way, calm and gentle, as if he had been listening for her too. He would kneel, stretch out his arms, and Mia would run straight into them with complete trust. Rosa watched this always, unable to explain the feeling that filled her chest, a mix of fear, a mix of gratitude, and something else she kept trying to bury. Mark held Mia like she was meant to be in his arms. He carried her around the penthouse. He let her sit on his lap during his short breaks. He let her rest her cheek on his chest whenever she felt sleepy. And every time Mia smiled at him, something in Mark's face softened, like a man slowly remembering how to breathe again. Rosa noticed everything. She noticed how he placed Mia's blanket on the couch so she would not get cold. She noticed how he moved breakable items higher. She noticed how he spoke in a low, warm tone around her baby. And she noticed how much he tried not to look at Rosa sometimes, as if he was afraid of what he felt. Rosa tried to keep her distance, but it was not easy. The bond between Mia and Mark grew naturally, like it had always been waiting to happen. Rosa felt like she was watching two souls find each other with no permission from her or the world. But everything changed one morning. Rosa had barely stepped into the lobby when Mia began crying hard. Her little body shook, her tears fell fast, and her voice echoed through the large space. People turned to look. Some stared with annoyance. Others whispered to each other. Rosa tried to calm Mia, bouncing her gently, whispering, "Hush, my baby. Hush. It is okay." But the crying only got louder. Mr. Lewis, the building manager, walked toward her with a stiff frown. "Rosa," he said in a sharp, quiet voice, "you need to control your child. Residents are complaining." Rosa felt a sting in her chest. "I am trying, sir. She is only scared today." "You need to keep the noise down," he said firmly. "This is a luxury building. People expect peace." Rosa lowered her head, hurt and embarrassed. Before she could reply, A calm voice cut through the room. "What is happening here?" Mark Dalton stood at the top of the marble steps, watching them with steady eyes. Mr. Lewis straightened suddenly, his face stiff with fear. "No problem, sir," he said quickly. "Just some noise." Mark walked down the steps slowly. "This is not noise," he said. "This is a child crying." Rosa held Mia tighter. She felt her cheeks burn. Mark stepped closer. "If anyone has a problem with Rosa or her daughter, they can speak to me directly," he said. "Not to her." Mr. Lewis swallowed and nodded without another word. Mark turned to Rosa and nodded gently. "Come upstairs," he said softly. "She will calm." Rosa followed him, tears in her eyes, grateful and confused. Mia rested her head on Rosa's shoulder as they rode up the elevator. When they stepped into the penthouse, Mia lifted her head and looked around. Mark opened his arms. Mia reached for him without hesitation. He carried her, walked to the couch, and held her close until her crying stopped. Rosa felt her heart twist painfully. Something was happening here that she had no power to stop. Later that afternoon, Mark called Rosa to the dining table. Mia was asleep on the couch with her blanket covering her small legs. Rosa stood nervously. "There is something I want to offer you," Mark said, his voice calm. Rosa swallowed. "Sir?" He pushed a folder toward her. "I want you to work here full time, as the house manager." Rosa froze. "Sir, I do not think I should accept something like that," she whispered. "I do not want people to think I am taking advantage." "This is not advantage," Mark said. "This is trust." Rosa opened the folder with a shaky hand. The offer was more than anything she could dream of. A higher pay, better hours, and a written line that said, "Child permitted on premises when needed." Her eyes filled with tears. "I cannot accept this," she whispered. "You can," he said gently. "And I hope you will." Rosa's hand trembled as she signed. Without knowing, she had taken a step into a future she could not control. But everything changed the next week. Mia woke up with a hot forehead. Her small body shook. Her breaths came quick and weak. Rosa panicked instantly. She held Mia close, whispering her name over and over, but Mia's eyes looked tired and distant. Rosa rushed her into the lobby, crying for help. Before she could even call for a taxi, Mark stepped out of his private elevator and saw them. His face went pale. "Give her to me," he said. He carried Mia in his arms, cradling her close to his chest, and Rosa ran behind him as he walked quickly to the car. He drove fast, his hands firm on the wheel, his eyes full of fear, while Rosa held Mia in the back seat and begged for her not to close her eyes. At the hospital, doctors rushed Mia inside. Rosa collapsed into a chair, shaking and crying. Mark stayed beside her, his face tense, his breathing shallow, like he was fighting memories he wished he could erase. Hours passed slowly. Mia finally woke up in a small room, weak but breathing normally again. Rosa held her close, tears still falling. Mia rested her tiny hand on Rosa's cheek, then reached toward Mark. She whispered softly. Mark froze, his eyes filled with emotion he could not hide. He walked to her slowly, touched her small hand, and whispered, "I am here." Rosa looked at him with fresh tears. She could see it now, clearer than ever. This man cared. This man feared losing Mia. This man had opened his heart again, because of a little girl who saw him without judgment. Rosa knew she should be happy. Instead, fear swallowed her. What would people say? What would rumors destroy? What would this connection cost Mia? That night, when Mark stepped away to speak to the nurse, Rosa packed her small bag quietly. She lifted Mia gently and held her close. She left a small note on the chair. "Thank you for everything, but I must protect Mia. Please do not look for us." And she walked away. Days passed. Mark did not stop searching. Not with power, not with force, but with heart. He visited every place she once mentioned. He followed her quiet footprints, trying to understand her world. Then one day, inside the South Side Family Center, he saw her again. Rosa stood helping children paint. Mia sat on a small chair with crayons. When she looked up and saw Mark, her whole face lit up. She dropped the crayon and ran to him as fast as her tiny legs could go. "Mama," she called, pointing at Mark with a big smile. She hugged him with all her small strength. Rosa froze. Mark lifted Mia gently, then looked at Rosa with soft, tired eyes. "I did not come to take anything," he said quietly. "I only came to say my truth." Rosa swallowed hard. "What truth?" He took a breath. "You and Mia are the first light I have felt in years. I cannot forget that, and I do not want to." Rosa's hands shook. "What are you asking me?" Mark stepped closer. "I am asking if you will let me be family with you and your little girl." Rosa's eyes filled instantly. Her fear cracked. Her heart opened. She stepped forward, touched his hand, and whispered, "Yes." Months later, Mia scribbled on an adoption paper in a small courtroom, not knowing the meaning, only smiling because both adults were smiling. Mia Carter Dalton. And on the rooftop of Unit 4802, Mark carried his daughter while Rosa held both of them close, forming a family born from instinct, innocence, and love that arrived like a miracle. The man who never liked kids, the man who lived behind walls, was changed forever by a shy little girl who reached for him without fear. And he never let go.